A woman arrested for attempting to murder her husband is seen smiling in her mugshot. It is a chilling contrast to the violent incident that nearly took his life. While 26-year-old Kourtney Duggins is behind bars, her husband Timothy Cannon now faces a lengthy and difficult recovery. We have the latest developments in this tragic case, and we are going to break it down for you right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Well, a 26-year-old woman is certainly drawing attention after she was seen smiling in her mugshot. You know what the thing about this is? It was just days after she allegedly shot her husband in a domestic dispute. Yeah, Kourtney Grace Duggins was arrested after police say she shot her husband, Timothy Cannon, in the neck with a handgun. This was at around 2 p.m. on November 18th. Officers had responded to the scene in Jasper, Alabama, where they found Cannon with 2 serious gunshot wounds. He told police that his wife shot him, then she fled the scene. He was taken to a hospital where he remains in serious condition. And officers, they found her. They located Kourtney Duggins, who, by the way, apparently confessed to the shooting. We actually plugged Duggins' name into TruthFinder to try to get a little bit more background information about her. And it turns out this is not the first time she has been in trouble with the law. Her criminal history dates all the way back to when she was 18 years old. Yeah, according to the report dating back to 2016, Duggins has been charged with assault, criminal mischief, theft, possession of a controlled substance without a prescription, criminal trespassing, driving with a suspended license. In 2016, Duggins pleaded guilty to misconduct involving a controlled substance and was ordered to pay a $300 fine. And then a year later, she pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor theft charge, was fined $100. And that same year, she was hit with a criminal trespassing charge, which she has also pleaded guilty to. Now, going back to the surviving victim in this case, and it's a miracle he survived, Timothy Cannon, he was critically injured in this shooting. According to a GoFundMe page, Cannon, who is disabled, has undergone surgery for his injuries, including a procedure to address damage to his throat. His injuries were so severe that he's apparently learning how to talk again. Friends launched the GoFundMe page to help with his medical expenses, and in a post on the page, a friend described Cannon as a kind and humble man who has faced many challenges in recent months. Tim, who is disabled, was the victim of a terrible tragedy when his wife tried to take his life. He has always been such a sweet and humble person to everyone. Now, the friend went on to say that Cannon is facing a very difficult road to recovery with very little support to help him through this. Quote, right now he has nobody to help him get back up on his feet, so we are asking for help on his behalf. So sad. And Cannon took to Facebook to post about his recovery, saying, I survived the incident, but I'm doing much better. I'm just working on my breathing, and soon I'll be working on my voice. And most recently, he wrote, I'm looking good, and I'm feeling great. I'm recovering very well. I'm happy, I'm alive, and I'm a huge walking testimony to a lot of people because of what I went through. God spared my life for a reason. Wow. Hey, so I want to quickly thank our partner Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this episode. It helps us to bring you this story. Look, if you should get injured, Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm, they may be who you want on your side. They have over 1,000 attorneys, dedicated support staff, an incredible track record like recent verdicts of $12 million in Florida, $26 million in Philadelphia, $6.8 million in New York. All of these, mind you, considerably higher than the highest insurance offers in these cases. There's no upfront fee. The whole process can be done straight from your smartphone. So if you're injured, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/LC Sidebar. Okay, but back to this. I want to break this down, and I want to bring on trial attorney Adante Pointer to talk more about this. Adante, thanks so much for coming on. What a story. I guess I have to just start, though, with what caught our attention. I think it caught a lot of people's attention. That mugshot. Talk to me about what you make of that mugshot.
That mugshot does not appear to be anybody who's repentant or sad or, is feeling as if they have any type of remorse for what they did. It almost looks like a jokerish grin, if you will. And frankly, I wonder if she has some mental health issues mixed in with the deviousness that she's engaged in repeatedly over the course of the last several years.
I'll get to that in a minute, mental health, but it's bizarre. It's bizarre to say the least, and it's also very eerie and chilling considering what she is accused of doing. We don't know what the motive is here, assuming she did this. I mean, it is an allegation, but what do you think can cause a domestic dispute to turn so violent like this?
Well, unfortunately, domestic disputes erupt into violence sometimes for, very serious allegations between the couple, be it, cheating or something like that. And sometimes it's less than anything because it's just the toxicity of the relationship. So I'm not quite sure here, but, you don't typically see it going this way from the wife assaulting and almost killing the husband. Usually you're used to seeing it go the other way, the husband snapping and injuring or severely injuring the wife. So this is a different bird of a different feather, if you
By
will.
the way, can a mugshot be used in evidence at a criminal trial?
Well, it can be used in the sense of questioning the defendant if she takes the stand, and or whoever the jailer that took the mugshot, if she made some statements of admitting what she did. So, a good attorney, a savvy attorney, would find a way and be working very hard to find a way to get that mugshot in because it's very telling from the prosecution side of her mind state, essentially saying, I don't give two flips about what I just did. In fact, I might be happy I did it.
Have you ever seen it be used in a civil case? So, putting aside criminal allegations, two people get into a domestic dispute or someone's injured as a result of an alleged violent act. Whether they're criminally charged is a separate issue, but you could see a civil case such as this. Do you think that mugshot could be used by a plaintiff's lawyer?
Certainly that mugshot can be used by a plaintiff's lawyer. If she has some type of defense, oh, I was injured, or you're gonna put up the mugshot and say, where are those injuries at? If she says, oh, I was remorseful, or it was an accident, or I was sad of what I did, you put up the mugshot. Is that were you sad in this moment, or was it after that, or was it before that? So there's a lot of different ways to get that mugshot into evidence. And once again, a savvy attorney is gonna find a way, make a way to get that mugshot into evidence because it's damning, to say the least.
And let's talk about those injuries. So if we're talking about potentially, I don't know if it'll apply here, a personal injury lawsuit, but the victim was shot in the neck, not once, but twice, somehow survived. What do you make of those injuries? And, again, from a plaintiff's lawyer, a civil trial lawyer, my gosh, those injuries, are really, really significant.
Well, clearly his injuries, it's a type of injury where it's remarkable that he's alive today. Most people
Yeah.
wouldn't survive one gunshot wound, much less two to the neck. So he's fortunate to be here. And from a civil aspect, the damages are astronomical because you're not only talking about the emotional distress aspect, but you're also talking about the medical care that could certainly stretch out for his entire life. Put together a life care plan, you're talking about millions and millions and millions of dollars. So a civil attorney certainly would use the mugshot as well as the injuries in order to guarantee that their client gets the payday and or the justice they rightfully deserve.
I don't know what her financial situation is, but would it be advantageous for him to file a lawsuit against her? And is there anyone else he could go after?
Well, the filing a lawsuit against your spouse, I mean, depending upon the laws of their state, it's California, it's all you're essentially suing yourself. Uh, However, she has some separate property that she received or owned prior to coming into the marriage, then certainly that could be at risk. They may have home insurance policies and things like that. So a claim could certainly be filed, even if it's a joint insurance policy, he would be entitled to receive the proceeds of it. And as it relates to looking at how to put this together, it'd be a little sticky because there's also spousal privileges and things like that. However, it was reported that she admitted to what she did. So it actually might be, as opposed to having to climb uphill, as most plaintiff attorneys are, this might be more akin to skiing downhill because you already have the admission and you have significant injuries.
Let's talk about this attempted murder charge. From a legal standpoint, what constitutes attempted murder and what would be the punishment that she could potentially face?
So attempted murder, clearly, as the words state, you intended to murder someone, but you didn't complete the act. You didn't complete the murder. The person survived. And that's what happened here by the grace of God. This man is still here and he can actually speak for himself. And in fact, although he is regaining his voice, he can write and do those type of things. And so he could be his own best witness. Now, in terms of penalty in a criminal case, an attempt is usually about half whatever the statutory mandatory sentence is or range is for a completed act. So, I'm certain he's looking at decades of imprisonment. for an attempted murder charge. Because for it to be murder, there has to be malice aforethought. You have to be thinking about what you're going to do and intend to actually unalive someone. So that's what the prosecution would be seeking to prove. And frankly, by shooting someone in the neck, not once, but twice, that's exhibit A and B. Case closed.
And in terms of an insanity or mental health defense, you mentioned it before, that might be the only thing that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't quite make sense, but if you're talking about this kind of violent act, her behavior afterwards, talk to me. But then again, you couple that with the confession, right? Isn't that complicated?
It is a complicated situation, but I actually think it affords the defense maybe one or two routes, and they'll have to pick and choose. One route is, yes, it was a moment of insanity. I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I was overcome by emotion, so on and so forth. Or you're going to say, you know what? I did that because he menaced me. It was his gun, or he was going to assault me, and I used the gun and I fired it in self-defense, and that's why I admitted it, because I knew that it was a righteous shooting, and so I had nothing to hide. And yeah, I'm smiling in the mugshot because I'm thinking, hey, you know, this guy's beat me up all these many times. I finally got my lick back. That is a story. I'm not sure it's a winning story, but it is an argument. And it's, once again, they have two roads they can go down: temporary or momentary insanity, or you could say, hey, I intended to do it, but this was self-defense.
Right. And to be clear, we don't have any evidence or facts to suggest that was what was happening prior to those shots. I mean, we don't know for sure. We'll have to see it develops. I will say, though, whether or not this was a civil case or a criminal case, and you have him take the stand in whatever state he is in at the time he testifies, let's say he can't even regain his voice, or let's say he barely does, whatever, that road to recovery, the jury looking at him, that is going to be a really tough hill to climb for whichever defense attorney is representing her at a civil case or a criminal case, right?
Absolutely. When he gets, assuming, you know, given his injuries and they're somewhat in a relative shape as the same condition as they are today, he's getting wheeled into court. He's coming in on a walker and in a wheelchair. He has some type of apparatus around his neck. He has to whisper on the stand, or he has to try to scribble some notes. The jury is going to be sitting there with their eyes wide, peering at him, studying him, and feeling an immense amount of sympathy for him, wanting to deliver some sort of justice for him, be it criminal justice or civil trial justice. And that is going to be a mountain, an extreme mountain for the defense attorney to have to deal with. I don't envy the defense attorney in that position at all.
Well, we'll see. I mean, if it takes its way to an actual trial, there might be a guilty plea here, still in the early stages of this. And of course, we'll mention if there's a civil case. But I actually want to ask you about something else. I'm not sure you'll have the answer to it, but from what we were able to find out on Facebook, Duggins recently, it seems, gave birth to the couple's baby and apparently has another child. With her prior criminal history, what she's currently being arrested for now, does the victim in this case, or the alleged victim in this case, have any legal options to potentially explore changes in custody?
Absolutely. You know, couples oftentimes find themselves in messy divorces or separations, and unfortunately, even in a criminal case. And those charges can be the impetus, the justification for a change in custody, be it removing the child from the defending parent's custody, or limiting the amount of contact and visitation, turning him into supervised. I'd imagine she's in custody and in jail on such a serious charge. So there is not going to be an issue around visitation at this point. But if she were to make bail and or beat the charges, you know, it'd be something that certainly a family law judge would consider, no doubt.
Well, I'll tell you what, Ms. Duggins is currently booked in the Walker County Jail on the attempted murder charge with a $50,000 bond. But it is this mugshot that is truly defining her and this case. Adante Pointer, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. It was great seeing you.
Always. Till next time.
All right, everybody, what a case. Thank you so much for joining us here on Sidebar. And as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. Speak to you next time.